Hello everybody and welcome to another week of Tryhard Tuesdays where we learn to try a little bit harder. I am your host, the Grand Wazoo, and sitting here with me right now is my mysterious co-host, the greatest, the Grandmaster Flubb. How's it going, Flubb?
Hey man, thanks for the introduction. I don't know if I'm the greatest, but I appreciate it.
Low production value. I was actually doing magic like jazz hands too.
Nice.
Everything was there. You just couldn't see. We needed a video edition, but you know, cutbacks and all that.
Yeah, it happens.
Imagine the confetti flying through the air. So it's great to have you on the show, man. It's going to be really great working with you and having you as part of the .p family. You are always here. And people know you, and some people don't know you, but this will be another outlet for other people to get to know you. So I just kind of wanted to start. Let's start with the tacky, tell us a couple things about yourself that make you unique type thing, and let's get to know you a little bit.
Well, I've been involved with Dota for a long time. I've been involved with a lot of video games. I've always been someone who loves and plays video games throughout my entire life, and I've kind of gravitated towards them. But Dota is one of the ones I took the most serious. Whenever I was in high school, I played quite a bit more Halo, but I really found my niche in MOBAs, and I really love this genre. So
I hear that a lot with Halo, and I'm definitely the same way. I feel like it kind of sparked some competitive itch, and Dota has some certain draw from the Halo crowd that it's always really interesting to see. You have like the XXX69 no-scope guys, and then you have like role-playing game fans and fans of Warcraft, and it's this weird amalgam that makes for a really interesting game. But
yeah, that's a good point. I do play RPGs a lot too, but that's kind of like the stuff I would do by myself. And then you get together with your friends with Halo, and I think that's probably why that Dota probably appeals to me and you, is because personally for me, whenever I was in high school, I was just getting online to play with my buddies, have a team together, each guy has their role, has to go out and get this gun here, that gun there. And it was all about like the strategic run out and fan out and do a certain strategy.
The team solving the team play felt a lot easier to orchestrate in Halo than it does in Dota sometimes. Sometimes I just bang my head on the keyboard, nothing happens. But I know exactly what you mean with kind of that competitive nature, and we've seen gaming really grow in that sense. So I don't know. Why don't you take us way back in the life of Flubb. Let's talk about your first real experience with the MOBA. What was your first game? What kind of position did you play? Do you still play those positions? Let's get the full gambit.
All right. Well, buckle up. It's a long story, but
all right, we have time.
So originally, it was sophomore high school is when I actually got into Dota. So that was 10 years ago. And whenever I got into it, it was actually my brother, one of my older brothers went off to college. My third oldest, my brother Michael, he went into college, and when he came back to visit, he talked about this game. He's like, man, everyone's playing it in the dorms. It's so much fun. You got to try this out. And I played it, and to be honest, I wasn't immediately hooked to Dota. Like, it was
Warcraft.
Fun.
This is back in the Warcraft engine.
Right. This is original Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, and actually Frozen Throne was the version for Dota, and it was it was a lot of fun. But I didn't have any like buddies to play it with, so the Halo draw was more there for me. But over the years, it was
harder back then to convince people to play, and I was one of those people that they just straight up wouldn't install a game to play one mod. Gaming was that was too complicated for some of us, even at the time, which is weird to think of now because you do so much to mod things on PC and stuff. But back then, it was like, I can play this on my Xbox or something. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and it's funny because like people back then always thought of mods as like, okay, you're modding a game so that you can win, or that like
there's that
it's imbalanced or something. Like I don't know about you, but I played a lot of Warcraft 3 mods, and man, there are so many games out there that you're just like, okay, well, this guy over here they made to like win the game, and then all these other characters are there to lose the game because like Oh man, Angel Arena, that
There's
was
so many games that kind of just made up Warcraft and kind of the entire MOBA, I don't know, generation. Like even those role
yeah.
playing games, I remember just playing a hero and wandering around and leveling up, like a la Warcraft 3, just like the normal hero characters and stuff. And what
Mhm.
that's grown into is fantastic, even since then. So, what was this like? Uh, Under Ice Frog when you were playing, what was it? It was All Stars that he had control of, and then the most recent Dota that he still updates, or it had its last update or something.
Yeah, it was still when Ice Frog. I never played when Gensu was still working it. And in my opinion, I didn't really know about it. I don't think I would have really liked it when Gensu had a control of it. I'm more preferable to what Ice Frog did and went with personally. And I mean, he's had to do a lot to even get it to where it is today. It is so much different. I can't even like explain to you. Like people talk about heroes by week to week basis. This guy's overpowered. This item's overpowered. Like you don't even understand when they're trying to figure out a new style to this game, a game that's never been that doesn't have a format, that didn't have a template. There's nothing that's really there. They had to come up with their own style of strategy. And when you first had that, there were some heroes that you're just like, how does this exist? Like, how is this guy not nerfed into the ground? But um, you just you would have fun because it's about the game and playing with other people. And I remember whenever I first started, actually, I played like I think it was like one or two actual games in like online. Most of the time, until I learned every hero, I wanted to learn everything about the game when I first played. So
How
I
old were you?
went
A
in
sophomore?
sophomore in high
What
school.
patience? I would just YOLO bitches hop in and like pick up a Yules or some whatever the equivalent was and cast it
Well,
on myself.
yeah, but there isn't as many people talking about the builds and stuff. I mean, there
Yeah,
was
that's
people,
what I
but
heard. Is there was no set build. I mean, you don't have anything to follow, so it's like you build whatever, right? When you're learning the game.
exactly. And like, I mean, you could figure some stuff out, and there was like some like quote unquote builds that people would use after a while because you would talk to people and people were trying to figure it out, but nothing was like set in stone. And definitely from different areas, like if you were playing in China or in America, there was completely different styles. And like when you saw the other guy, you're like, all right, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And then all of a sudden, he would just destroy you like
That's
out of
humbling.
nowhere. Yeah, exactly.
And
It's
you see that
humbling.
on larger levels, I guess, with different metas in different places. I mean,
Mhm.
Europe is thought to be, a stronger zone or whatever than North America, just in terms of the competitive scene. And China has interesting styles as well and has kind of surprised people. But back then, I mean, you even saw it. And you said you studied the game. Did you learn everything you wanted to before you jumped in, or what happened after that?
I had to play every hero in versus computers. In my view, I had to play every hero before played a game online.
You're like the perfect noob, man, is what you're explaining to me.
I was, but also I had an older brother that was like, "You must do it this way," you know. So
I
I
didn't
had
train Roland so well. Unfortunately, guys, I just unleashed him. I was like those bad parents that just sit their kids in front of TVs and go out at night and stuff. But
Well, I mean, that's one way to do it, man. It got him excited. I mean, I don't know another person out there that's more excited about Dota than Roland. When he talks about it, you can hear it in his voice,
yeah, you
man.
can.
He loves this game. So, um, but yeah, I started when I started, I played every hero. I made sure I understood every ability and what it was doing to the hero and why it was doing it. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people take advantage of nowadays is they'll know like Timbersaw, they'll know that his whirling blades does more damage versus strength heroes, but they don't truly understand this whirling blade lowers their main stat, which their main stat is based on their damage. So they're doing less damage to you when you whirling blade every single time. And people don't realize that. And I still have games that people in 5K or people in 4K just don't really understand, the basics of the game that I take for granted.
That's a
Um,
very Halo effect. It's funny that we kind of hit on that because some people want to play it just like, at least at my skill level, I won't speak for skill levels above mine, but they just want to play it as a kill simulator, you know, and that, like, it's partially to blame with the double kill, multi, like, kill, like, that it's so flashy that people, that's what they strive for, you know, and stats are kind of invisible at that certain skill level. They don't mean much. You don't buy a Manta for stats. You don't get Sanj and Yasha because, you know, you want something that's flashier. And Manta you're buying to split your dude or something, you know, not get it for the stats. It's not something that ever comes to mind. So that's
Exactly.
very interesting.
Yeah, and that's how you play in the beginning, right? Because there's things that look cool, but personally for me, I was very into the statistics of it, and I was very into the idea of, okay, this is why this is better because you're getting 66% more damage here, and so on and so forth. But that's not how everything needs to be. It's not always this is flat damage better than this. There's other reasons out there, and we'll get that later in weeks. We'll talk more about that. But when I started to figure out the game, started to get more into it, I started playing for a few years, and then I went off to college. And actually, when I got into college, I got really sick, and I couldn't be in school anymore. So I actually had to medically withdraw from school. And whenever I withdrew, my buddy was like, "Hey, I have a new game. You can play with me, and while you're like healing and trying to figure out what's wrong with you." And I actually got really into Heroes of Newerth, and because that was the game, and at the time it was a Dota clone. It was just better graphics. Things made more logical sense, in my opinion, on that format. There was a couple things that were different that I didn't like. Like there's actually no turn radius. Like there's no turn speed in Heroes of Newerth,
Or League.
and
So that's
or League,
something League kind of took from that.
right? Or you could say maybe I think Heroes of Newerth came out like a couple months after League, so you could
Oh, did it? I thought it came out beforehand. That's
it,
interesting.
see it actually. Yeah, actually, League of Legends came out. Was the first one to come out after Dota. I think there was like a couple other ones I played. Oh God, I forget the names of them now. They're like really random custom games. But the one that always came out first was League of Legends, and they went down a much different path, and I didn't really like it. I didn't really understand what they were doing. Whenever I heard um, that everything wasn't available to you from the get-go,
Yeah,
I
it's a turnoff, isn't it?
I immediately said no. Like that's
But Han was different. Like everything was available to go. Was it a free to play game or one that you paid for?
at first, you paid for the game and you had all the heroes available to you, and it was like you paid like I don't know, it was like $30, I think. It wasn't too much, and you got the game and you had all the heroes available, and it was pretty much Dota in a different format, and that's why everyone loved it because there wasn't as many heroes and they weren't all transformed over yet, but it was on its way to becoming like the next Dota 2. And as time went on, people kind of went towards this mode more because they basically whenever Ice Frog had an update, they would like take a week and then just change whatever Ice Frog did in Dota to match it. But after a while, they heard about Valve going into Dota 2, and they actually changed the entire game, and they started to do a lot of things that were a little risky, in my opinion, and a lot of things that would turn the consumer like me off. Like, eventually, they were like, you could buy accounts, and you could always buy a new account for however much it was like $30 or whatever. And at one point, they actually had it go on sale, and they kept going having these accounts that you could buy go on sale, and then at one point they put it down to like $5. But
Smurf
then,
Central, huh?
right, so Smurf Central, and everyone had a Smurf. Like I think I had three Smurfs at one point. But the thing
Valve
was,
has replicated that with CS:GO sales, and that was a big kind of a criticism with how they were handling hacking in CS:GO. Is like they would ban out mass accounts and then hold a sale, and then sell it for like $4. So it's interesting that that hasn't been corrected in the industry yet.
yeah, yeah, it's
Well, it
that's
makes money, so maybe it's not something that needs corrected. I guess.
Right.
But
Well, it's something that needs to be corrected because it still hurts the consumer, right? We're still suffering for something that they're doing, so we're considering leaving the game because if it gets bad enough, it's just they're gonna ride that line sometimes of is it are we hurting the players too much by getting this money? But the real thing that they did that was a an awful move in my opinion was they had that sale for like $5 at one point, and then the very next week all accounts were free. So
ooh,
they
that's a
right,
dirty move.
pretty dirty, right?
Yeah.
So they were like, "Oh man, you can get this all cheap." And then yeah, well, it doesn't matter anymore cuz now we're giving it
You
all for
want a
free.
refund for your cheap purchase? It's like, I'm
Right.
confused why I'm mad. I'm definitely mad though. That's
Right.
interesting. Well,
And
what positions were you? What game? Like, where did you start? Because I mean,
see, I
Hana,
started
it's
it
Dota, so it has similar positions. Like, where'd you
right.
play? Yeah.
So when I started the game, and you know, back then you had positions and stuff, but if you weren't like upper tier, didn't really know what was going on, you didn't really have positions in Dota at that point. Like it was generally like you had some people who would say like 2-1, basically everyone 2-1-2'd, and there was not really a tri lane at that point. Whenever I first started playing, and I didn't really keep up with it at that point. So like sometimes there was tri lanes whenever you would go to like if people overseas would do that. China was the one who really brought the tri lane into it, but whenever I played. Whenever I went over to Han, I actually started to get into it. And when I first started playing, I actually played mid. I love the potential, and it's actually something that you kind of still see today in my plays. Is that the best thing that I ever was? The best thing that I ever did in that game was ganking. I know the way to move, and I know what needs to be done in every gank scenario. Um, Generally, I feel like that's my biggest weakness sometimes too because I expect certain things to go a certain way and I can get into the right position and I know what the position is, but like
You can't
some
force everybody to be
yeah,
there too. Yeah.
I can't force people to be in the right position at the right moment, and it can backfire a lot of times. So I get quite divey when things don't work out because I feel like I can get something done, and then people don't really think that we can do it, and then they kind of like, should we go in? Should we not? And then everyone ends up dying.
So is that carried on from play all the way back in Han?
Oh yeah, all the way back in Han.
So
I
you were
have
playing like a divey, really aggressive mid back then.
Oh yeah. There's most of the time actually I would play. There's two characters that I played a lot, and one was basically the Pudge port. I was always playing Pudge, or this guy named Deadwood, which is a crazy stupid character that would just he could pick up this a tree from the forest and he would get a was like plus 20 extra damage, so he made like last hitting crazy easy, and he was just like a guy that could come out of nowhere that had like a torrent like Kunkka and could just gank anyone
He
at
has
any
like
time.
aspects of Tiny and Kunkka.
Yeah, and his ultimate was like a lion blast, but it was all physical and it was short range. So you just like run up and punch someone in the face,
Was it?
and it would do like massive amounts of damage.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah, so and that's what I always loved. I loved because back then mid wasn't what mid is today. Like mid is maybe the thing that's changed the most in the past like 6 years. It's it's astronomical. The changes are just crazy different, and it's gone from one side of the map to the other. On like, if you were looking at a chart on what's most important for a mid, it's been all over the place. But back then, it was about it's kind of what the support role is today. It's moving around the map, making people second guess where they're farming, and always like being in the heads of the opponents
Kind of
and
winning
trying
the other lanes rather than just focusing on your own and being a farm monster.
right and trying to set up. things to happen within the game, kind of controlling the tempo of the game in general. Setting up ganks, setting up what needs to happen in the mid game, which still tends to happen, but it's on a much lessened scale.
It's more interesting to watch, that's for sure. I mean, even if you see like a highly mobile mid and they do decide to gank, it's interesting to watch at least. And even
Yeah.
just watching them, 1v1, it's interesting. So you got kind of a microcosm of the game within that mid lane now. But is that why you sometimes see some of this carry on? Like I'll see people try to go Shadow Shaman mid and stuff, and I wonder if that's like a carry on from old times.
Well, it is actually. You got to remember that in older times there weren't anywhere near the amount of characters that there are today,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of times where you would run a Shadow Shaman mid because you'd need a really good push lineup with a lot of CC, and there really wasn't anyone to offer that except for Shadow Shaman at the time. And so there's something to say about having those old strategies and using them because if they worked back then, sometimes they can work now, depending on the nerfs
And
and
that's what surprised me because it did work. Because he
yeah,
just hit six, and right at six, I think it was like a puck or something he was against. He just ran up and just threw his wards on the high ground the second he hit six, and
yeah,
just shackled or not shackled, whatever his hold is called on the puck and killed him. It was interesting. I mean, you can still get away from it, of course. It's a stationary thing, but it was funny that he was like defending it to me because I was definitely skeptical, and then to see it work, and then like find out it has history is interesting because you see these old ideas that still can work under the right circumstances. Maybe you have better options now, but it still works.
yeah, most definitely. And that's actually a big proponent of what I play. A lot of times you'll see me run whenever I play games, or if people play with me, or people who know me know that I'll run some really old things that's like, wait, what are you doing? Like that's not meta right now. That's not. This doesn't even make sense. And they're like, oh, wait, that works. I was like, yeah, I learned this trick like 6 years ago. You can do this in this weird way. And yeah, suddenly you'll just blow everyone up. And even that some of that stuff comes from Han. Like, there was a lineup that I used to run in Dota 2 that was Kunkka, Lina, and Sven. And it came from a lineup that I learned in Heroes of Newerth. And the idea is that you just have Sven stun someone, and then you stun on top of that with Lina, and then you stun on top of that with Kunkka, or however way that you want to do it, and then they
Stuns
just all
equal
die.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But it's just something that's kind of a general enough idea to the games, it seems, that stun's good, that it translates. All that mechanical skill is translated with you over the years, right?
Right. And you'll pick up certain things, you'll pick up certain ideas that you'll go along as time moves on, and I bet something you'll learn later on. How long have you been playing the game, actually, Wazoo?
About 3.5 years.
3.5 years?
No
Yeah, like,
previous MOBA experience. I played some StarCraft, and I was really, really bad. StarCraft 2. Like, I couldn't even get out of... Like, I got into Diamond, like, once. But then
oh
I
yeah.
just got my ass knocked down. But I never really had a lot of mechanical skill, so I couldn't do the multiple units. But when I came to Dota, it was just one unit. I was like, oh, I can do that. It's just one guy. That makes sense. I'm one guy. I'll sit down and I'll play, and I'll just play this one guy, like every other video game. When
Yeah.
the multiple units get there, like I can do it with some heroes because it's not too meticulous. But when it gets super meticulous, like a Chen or something, I can't do it. But
I think
yeah, 3.5 years, and I'm not that good at the game. But I
yeah,
think
but
like
you've learned things from let's say like year one. You learned a couple things from. We'll even go back go to TI. Like you learned some things from the first TI you watched probably that you're
I
like,
didn't even conceptualize lanes. Like I didn't understand what short lane meant at all. I like got down and I like tried to measure them with my fingers, and I was like, I seem the same. I, like no, seriously, I was like was totally at a loss, and I didn't really things didn't really solidify for me honestly until I started this podcast with the guys, and we kind of did that because they were just starting, and I was like, hey, we all thought it would be a great idea, so that's kind of helped understand, talking about something makes it seal itself in your head, I guess, or having that conversation.
Yeah.
But so
Well,
as for
fun
Han,
fact.
how long did you play that game before you switched over to Dota 2?
Well, I played Han for about 3 to 4 years because I heard about Dota 2, and at first I actually didn't want to switch over. I was like, well, I'm just going to play Heroes of Newerth because I know it and I like what they've done with it. But not only did they do that tricky stuff, but after a while they started to get worried, and they actually would put out a character, even though they promised that they would never like make you pay for a character, they would have you pay for a character for when it would come out.
That's a panic move. It sounds like they're
Yeah,
trying to become League real fast because they see other competitors entering the market.
exactly. That's exactly
So
what
that's the
happened.
demise of the game. This is also a game, mind you, audience me dears, that Zai came from, Moon Meander came from Heroes of Newerth, PPD. Plenty of people from the Dota 2 scene that you revere today came from Han, and that those skills kind of transferred over. I wanted to make that note. But after they did that stuff with kind of the bastardization of the free to play thing, or I guess the going back on their promises, did you switch over to Dota or did you give it a while?
I gave it a while actually, and I mean, there's even more things to add to that list. I won't make this a podcast about dissing on Han, but yeah,
Is it still
there's a
even
lot of
going?
things. I think so, but it is a fraction of what it used to be. Or I mean, if it even has the same number, it should have grown. But it's basically most of the people have moved to Dota 2, or basically what I've found whenever I went back there, like randomly a couple years ago, was that it was just all the rage-filled monsters that exist in Dota 2 still play Heroes of Newerth, I swear. Because like every single person is a rage monster. Like they're you normally you'll have like one good person, or like there will be like some camaraderie in a Dota 2 match every once in a while. But in Heroes of Newerth, it was like the scum of the internet, just hanging out there, having their jollies at like getting really upset at random things.
Obviously, we haven't left them all there because there's some in the Dota 2 environment, and
Of course, of course.
it's good that neither of us are those things. Trying to be a better gamer, I guess,
Yeah.
because you have the mindset of someone who is definitely more positive about the game for all the time you've played.
Well, I would like to say so, but it's to each their own, and have different opinions. But
Does
I think
Flubb
that
rage? Tell us
I
all in front of all the listeners.
I would say that there's some people that might argue that I would, but I feel like as a player, I don't rage very often. I may get frustrated, and you may hear me like sigh into the mic, but
That's
I think
immediate report if I ever play with you. By the way, a sigh. Oh man.
right, right.
Ability abuse, a bit abusing my heart.
Yeah, just
But
being racist and all that, that's exactly what sighing is.
I
But
just find
no,
it interesting because people who seem to stick with it and be higher skilled players, just they have a mindset that it's like they're gonna do it. You know what I mean? They're gonna play and have a good time, even though people are rage monsters, as you put it. And then there's players that haven't played that long. I'm among them that just feels like I don't know. I tend to over exaggerate sometimes how bad Dota's community is because it's bad in ways. I mean, you have the Reddit thing where it's the hive mind where people just kind of, I don't know, go with whatever. Kind of like this whole IO thing. I saw a huge criticism about the IO Arcana thing, stuff like that, where it's just kind of like a flash mob that you can't stop.
yeah, I think it also comes with like after you've been around it for so long, you just kind of accept that people are gonna be that way. It's actually kind of like made, yeah, at first it's kind of really hard to get past everything, and especially when people are yelling at you constantly. But when you just like take it and you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna play my game. I'm gonna take their criticism as best as I possibly can. Try to learn from what mistakes I made. Rewatch the games. Um, I think that Dota becomes easier and it becomes more fun because Yeah, people are rage monsters, but this game is so addictive and so much fun whenever you actually get into a situation where you have five people playing together.
And there
Um,
actually is the spirit of unity in there somewhere.
oh yeah,
I swear
like
to God, because like I mean, I don't play super organized pubs or anything, but even when it works out with a random stranger, I mean, you get that spirit of unity, no matter the nationalities, and that's something I like about Dota. It brings people together. But we kind of got a clip along. I still want to go through your history, and now we're at the Dota 2 section. When you started playing Dota 2, approximately how old were you? And what skill level would you say you started at compared to where you've grown now?
well, I was 20 whenever I started playing Dota 2, I think. And that
So
was
you were early in, huh?
yeah, I was okay, so they had the first international. I was like I think I was 3 months after the first international I got in.
I got in right around TI3, so
Okay. Yeah, I got in.
before TI3, but I like watched TI3 and comprehended it. That was
Well,
like a good judge, I guess.
yeah. Well, TI1, no one actually had it unless you were a pro or you were invited because you knew someone in Valve or something like that. Um, so you couldn't have gotten it before uh, TI1 unless you were like a really special person. And then they had invites and they had like very selective invite situation in the very beginning where it's like you could invite one or two friends if you got invited, and then they started passing them out there, and that's when I got in because one of my buddies, is like in every beta ever. I swear, like
I know people like that. Yeah.
yeah, they just I don't know how they get on it, but apparently because they leave good advice, right? And everyone, all the testers just want to have that them as a tester, but he's just man, he got me in really quickly, and I've been playing ever since. And man, I've put so much time in this, but I love it. Every single game is something you learn something new, you do something more innovative. It's just it's the best, man.
It's
There's no
freeform.
game
I
like
mean,
it.
it is just so random in so many different ways. It's interesting. So where would you say you started? Like in the current MMR bracket system, would you say you've gained 2K points or something since you started in those 5 years, or how much would you say you've improved?
Well, the thing is that whenever you had um, the MMR wasn't actually a thing for a really long time, and I actually
Till
didn't know what it
after
was.
TI3 for a while, I believe.
Right. So I didn't actually know what my MMR was. I mean, I was just playing and trying to get better. Now I could like,
Still probably playing like high skill though. I bet.
yeah, I was playing high skill at least, or very high skill. I was at least playing high skill. I really haven't probably gained a lot of MMR. In retrospect, I'm not 100% sure of how much I've actually gained over it because I don't really know what I started out at because I had over like 2,000 games at the point that MMR was a thing. And they like, whenever I got my MMR, I actually calibrated in, I think it was like just under 4K. Um, so I calibrated in like just under 4K, and I had learned a lot from then. But over the years, you play different. Every year, I guarantee that you are a different player than from the beginning, and it's not because you learn more. It's that's one of the things,
Reinforcing habits?
but it's also actually I know for a fact when I was 18, I played the game much different than I do today because my reaction speeds are definitely lowered. Like it's fractions of a second, but I know for a positive fact that I react a little bit slower. And I also do things less stupid. Now, when I was 18, I would like try to like do really stupid attacks where I would like, okay, I'm gonna take these three guys, one guy by myself. I can do it. And sometimes I would get away with something like that, and I wouldn't actually like kill all three of them, but I would kill like two of them, and it would end up being good for my team. But under normal circumstances, I should have never gotten away with that if I was like facing someone good.
And
So,
now you kind of look at those situations like the risk might not be worth the reward.
right. and especially the game has also changed a lot in the idea of how gold system works and all that. So the rebound system kind of reformed Dota players in general, and there's a lot of things that go into it. But I feel like as time has moved on, it's not just an MMR thing that you got to look at. It's also a thing of what have I improved in, and I feel like as a player, I've improved in a lot of things. I know I know how to gank, and I've always been really good at that. But I know like when's the right time to pull, where the warding spots truly are best. What's like something that I know generally if I see a character, what's going to happen with that character and the idea of like how much damage he's going to do to me. Like if I have
Given the point in
200
the
health,
game, kind of like power curves and all that stuff.
right? And you know if you have like 200 health, if you can go back in this situation, or if you have certain different types of situations, you can learn things that you can just take a look at it, and some people will use numbers. I use images. I know at a certain health bar percentage, like just like looking at my health, I know how far I can go in an instant, and I didn't have that before. And that's something that I think a lot of people take it for granted. Like sometimes your MMR doesn't look like you've grown, but you really have grown as a player because you notice things way more. Um,
You might be coming back to the same skill level with a skill set you didn't previously have.
exactly.
And that's kind of how I feel about. I've gone up to 3.5k, even like 3.7 was my peak, and then I've fallen to like 2800, then to 2500, then back up to 3k, then to 2600. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like I can kind of look at it, the graph, and like how much time I put into the game is where I start to hit my peak, and then when I come back after some time spent away, it's just like I tank. But I still keep some general things in mind, and that's what's so brilliant about this system. And I really see your admiration for it shining through from a good chunk of your life spent playing with such systems. Is that the game just tactically and just in terms of freedom, it's endless. Every situation is going to be different. Every problem is going to be different that you need to solve. And for that, I think that's what keeps us coming back, not so much a number or MMR.
Right.
But Flubb was playing with a team called Hakuna Marana with Ursi and Proud, the show host for Tryhard, that's us, Theorycraft Thursdays, and some other people. So we will be continuing our series on team building next week. And we'll hear more about Flubb's past as we continue to go along. His mysterious dark past. He's like a Sith Dota warrior, like the nicest guy I've ever met. He's just like he's got a dark past. But we'll learn more about what you have to say about your Dota 2 history and stuff. We're kind of running long in the tooth, so we're gonna start like our main segment, which is kind of something fun. We're gonna break the ice with our audience and discuss what would be a cool concept for a Dota 2 hero. Flubb suggested this idea for our first show, and he said he's been inspired by some interesting ones he's seen throughout the times, and you've also thought of other things. I think that Deadwood guy is, like, I was taking notes as you were telling me that Han hero. I was like, just like mix and match that guy. But what do you think, man? What would make a very well-designed new hero that you would see in the game?
Well, there are games from other MOBAs that I would love to see in Dota eventually, but I don't want to compare the systems because there's also little differences within systems. Some power skill, some just they move kind of differently. But if I could make it's maybe a random thing for listeners, but I like to watch anime, and one of the heroes that's come from Dota is actually a really prominent anime character. Lena Lena Inverse, I believe, is her name for Lena.
Oh, really?
That's the actual character's name, and her abilities are actually things that she uses in the show. And I actually never watched the anime, but I know of that because everything in Dota is actually taken from other things in pop culture. Um, there's like all the characters. There's so many different
And
avenues and
they take from everywhere from Greek mythology to different gods to different archetypes to different pop culture things to different units
yeah,
from RTS games. It goes on and on the amount of inspiration.
right. And that's one of the best things about it is that it's got inspiration from everywhere. So there's something everyone loves, and something that I loved growing up. I don't know if you ever watched this, but I was a big fan of Toonami growing up.
Oh yeah, I loved
And
it.
okay, great, great. And the one of the shows that I loved was Yu Yu Hakusho. I don't know if you ever remember that show.
I never watched it much. I was more of a DBZ guy, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I love DBZ too. DBZ is in my heart, but Yu Yu Hakusho was my shit, man. And whenever I there's a character in there named Kurama, and he's like a part demon guy, but the thing is he used a whip, and it's this like razor sharp whip that's made of like a plant. And I always thought it'd be really cool to have him as a Dota character because it would be a melee whip guy. That would be an intelligence based guy because the whole point in the show is that he is a super intelligent guy that solves his problems through his use of plants and how much he knows about them.
Oh, plants.
hmm
Cool.
So he's kind of like a druid in like other games, that you would play. Um, but he has a whip as a weapon, and I think it'd be really cool to have a melee spellcaster that like kind of worked like Razor, where Razor has that whip and he's like melee, but he's more ranged. Um,
And you kind of like
and
have some. You do have some like range though. Still, it's not just you're not confined to like a sword's range or whatever. It's a little bit more.
right, and he would make plants do his bidding. So I always thought it'd be cool to have this guy that would like have the trees like move in and like grapple a guy instead of forming trees around them, like actually have them like bend and like hold the guy down for a stun, or have a guy like have plants that like little grass come up and like like be like razor blades and like cut a guy, or just have things within the game that like change the mechanics of what they look like in the game. I think that would be phenomenal.
Yeah. So okay, you have two abilities as I see it. You have trees can grab you, and then you force up like a bramble that like ching, I think like maybe stuns or
Mhm.
like obstructs your path. It like locks you into place, let's say. Like when you're stuck into the middle of serpent wards, but you can
Right,
still move and cast, let's say. Like you're just
right.
stuck in the bramble. What would his first ability be?
I think his first ability would be something that he always did was he had this uh, rose petals. He was like known for using a rose because he like turned a rose into a whip, and it was like super sharp.
Nice.
So one of the things that he would do is he would use the rose petals as like blades, and I think that would be a really cool thing to do for him is actually have like a spinning uh, these spinning blades around him, like rose petals that spin around him and do like a damage per second if you came into him. And like the closer you got to him, the more damage it would do. And if you were at the very edge, it wouldn't do much damage. But so like he could like run up to you, and he would like have an ability that would be able to like cancel any ongoing effects on you, like like the healing pots or clarities. But at the same time, he wouldn't really do a lot of damage unless he was like right next to you. And I also had the idea for his ultimate would be turning into his demon form, because in the show he would turn into this like white fox, and it was his demon form, and it would like change all of his abilities to be something like a little bit more sinister.
It's like a white wolf.
Yeah, he like turned into
Cool.
like white wolf version of himself, and
It's
he
like a
would
different lichen.
exactly.
It's like a
Uh,
different kind of lichen. I like it. Yeah.
like a lichen that's intelligence based, and his spells like actually change when he changes form instead of him changing and then
That
giving
man, that
him
makes me think
buffs.
like lichen should have different abilities in his wolf form. Just like an ability to leap or something, or like I don't know. That's a really good idea. So, what would the name of your hero be?
See, we couldn't use his actual name, so I've thought a lot about this, and I think it would be uh, like demon druid or like demonic druid or something like that. Because I mean, there's also
What
like a
about
nature's
Demi
prophet
Druid?
demi druid. That would be pretty awesome because he's like
Yeah,
half.
or Dire Muid.
That would be awesome.
I don't know. There's okay, because we're gonna do mine. Like, okay, let me move on to mine. Okay,
All
we're,
right.
we're gonna do a vote. Everyone tweet out us your votes of who's the best. Mine is Sharky Shark, the shark rapper.
All right. This is
Yeah,
gonna be awesome.
and he also has to integrate with the environment, because he needs to go and visit the river every 5 minutes to get hydration, and if he doesn't, he dies. So that's, but he's pretty much like the anti Slark. His first ability would just be like a lasso, and he just catches somebody and can pull them, kind of like that. His next ability would have to be a fish flopper, like a leap, is all it would be. A third would be a wrap, which just whoever's around it kind of heals from the wrap. And then his ability would be a massive stun. He'd be like a tide, kind of, but like his ult would be like drop them beats, probably is what it would be called. And he would just drop it, you know? So vote between Flubb's idea for the Demon Druid, Demi Druid, or mine, Sharky Shark, the Shark Rapper. I wonder who will win that one. One's had years of thought. Mine, I drew it on a napkin. So he
I
has
don't
a
know. Sharky
boombox on
Shark
his
has its
shark
potential, man.
shoulder, like has some shades on. All right.
Dude, that would be awesome. I mean, hell, I'd vote for Sharky Shark. That
I was
sounds like
inspired. I saw this. I want to give an honorable mention to this because I saw this a while ago, and it was like a b-balla character, and he dribbled, and he had like basketball shorts, and he would just dunk on fools, pretty much. And
that would
it
be
was very
awesome.
well thought out. Yeah, I was just like, the limits of the game. Why not get some NBA players in there? There are current day heroes, so we'll
Well,
throw
there
everybody in.
there are NBA players who do play Dota.
Yeah, that's right. Hayward.
Yeah, Hayward right
Yeah.
there. And real quick, it's kind of a random tangent, but there are Dota heroes that existed before that they actually took out of Dota because they were too overpowered or too underpowered. And there's a cheat that you could type in to like see those heroes and play with them in old Dota. So it's kind of funny we talk about this stuff, but there's like actual heroes that are on like a list that they could eventually bring back and like retool, and it'd be really fun to see those because there's one in particular that I thought was really fun and funny. There's like this guy that was he was like a tax collector or something. He had money.
A
He would,
gambler.
the gambler.
Yeah, the gambler.
And
I've heard of that.
he would throw money at people. He would actually use like a percentage damage buffer based on the money that he had in his inventory. And it was hilarious. Like he had like all these random things with money. He was like either really, really good or like horrible, like unplayable
And
garbage.
people bitch about techies. Imagine a guy in your 5K pubs who is literally throwing money at the ground as he
Yeah,
walks
like
out of the fountain.
actually attacking people. It's like you just lost 500 gold because you killed somebody. Oh
It's
shit.
like,
All right. Well,
he gave me
that guy's
gold back,
useless.
I guess, but not as much as I spent. I don't know. I can see why they didn't necessarily want to add an idea like that. I find it really interesting to just show they're thinking about all sorts of different solutions to
Mhm.
heroes. You know what I mean? You see it a lot with Timber and different heroes that use the environment or they benefit from the environment. I wonder why they wouldn't play with gold. They already kind of do, I guess, with buyback. I mean, that's something that's huge for gold that you can spend that everybody kind of needs. But in terms of gold having a real other purpose in the game like that in battle, you don't see it at all.
Right. Right. There's a lot to Dota, and what's crazy to me is that whenever I see Dota and I look at the hero before it, a lot of times they'll have similar abilities, but nothing is truly the same. And they try to like move away from a lot of times you'll see Ice Frog. There's a lot of things that existed before that he's kind of phased out over time. that this one bash was like identical to another bash, but it is completely different now. Or, um, like people had like blinks and they worked differently, and there used to be like only blinks, and then there was blink strike, and then like there's blink like
Distinguishable differences. I can see what
exactly
you're saying with how he's moving the game in that direction, because you look at an example like Void losing backtrack and PA still having blur. Those were pretty similar, and now there's only the blur in the game. You know what I mean? So it's
right,
like he's trying to make abilities distinguishable. Now you know if a Void backtracks your damage because he does his time walk, and
right.
with PA, you see the blur. And I can see them where they used to have placeholders, and I still feel like there's some placeholders like that in the game, but they're trying to like make it the best it can be. And I see that more and more. And I feel that talking to you, just like kind of getting the history of it. I feel like we don't realize that this is his life's work in a lot of ways. Ice Frog, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
that
it
wouldn't be an
is.
exaggeration to say that.
I don't think so. Like he has put so much time and effort into making this game so even and so well done that like you go over to any other game, I challenge you, any other game, and I won't find another game that has the uh, just the amount of availability of making things work within Dota 2 as any other MOBA. Like I can get into a game and play sniper right now, and I think that it works. Like it may not be the best, but it's able to win. Whereas there's other games you play a hero and it's like you're gonna lose like 15%. Geez, you're gonna lose like 60% of the time. Whereas in Dota, you're probably gonna win like 50-50. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just
you see that with games like Overwatch and stuff, where it's like you need that big ass with the shield to
right.
block damage. With
Or
with
you
Dota, you have
need
multiple selections that can fill that role. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
I can see what you're saying. It's like there's multiple solutions to any given problem because the problem's changing constantly on the other side.
right.
And I
And
completely agree with you. And it's great to get your insight on that. It's great to talk to you in more detail. I think Sharky Shark, the Shark Rapper, is going to win. He's modeled after Marky Mark, and you know he's a pretty popular actor, so I'm sure the crowd will get behind it. Guys, we're still going to do the item of the day or item of the week. It's a segment we've wanted to keep going for a while, so we're going to keep it going for our educational purposes. And it's no different just because this is the first day of class with Flubb or whatever. So Flubb, today we are going to be talking about the infused raindrop. It's something that I see it has a lot of applicability at higher level of play, and I don't quite get the nuances of it. So I feel like you'd be perfect to talk us through it. Do you grab infused raindrops quite often as it stands?
I do. I think that it's a really solid item for what it offers, and the idea why I grab it so often is that most of the time on who I play is I play a lot of supports, and I know I was talking about earlier I play a lot of mids, but generally my focus now and for the past years, at least 4 years, have been playing support. So one of the things that's important for supports is making sure that you have mana and making sure that you have survivability, which this item offers both. It offers a way to stop the nukes and make sure that you don't just blow up in a matter of seconds. But it also gives you the mana regen and the spam ability of just being able to use your spells to remove the offlaner, remove to help farm a jungle, to help the carry stay alive,
Just get
whatever the
those
situation.
abilities up a little bit faster. That mana regeneration is at 0.85 on the raindrop, just to be clear there. And I want you to continue on. You're getting some good stuff. I
Yeah,
just wanted to clarify with the details. It costs 225, has 5 charges, and that damage block, you said it's up to 120. So if you are getting like dinked or something, and you need to blink, like something like this is very, very good to just get right out of there, not take that damage from the magic source.
Well, the thing that I think is so great about it is, especially if you're playing in a pub and you're not gonna have the 3-man, 4-man ganks with cohesion as often as you would in a team environment. So a lot of times, what they'll do is they'll have one guy who's roaming around, and then one guy like just standing still in lane, helping out the carry. So one guy will roam around and try to get kills like Pudge or something. And let's say that Pudge comes out of nowhere and he hooks you. He hooks you and you block some of that damage, or you get blocked on one of my favorite examples is this. If you're playing mid and you're playing versus Alina, every time she spams the wave to try to push you back, you're taking 120 less magic damage, which is a lot versus someone who's trying to force you out of lane through damage. That's the only real advantage that she has in lane, is that she forces you out because she has no escape. She has a minimal stun, and if she's not keeping you low, then she's not doing her job because one other person can rotate with you, and then she's 100% dead.
It's interesting you say that because I've kind of been seeing PA being run in my bracket a lot and just dagger spamming with like a Blightstone.
Hmm.
And it does quite a bit of damage. And I was surprised that as Jug I could spin it, and I didn't realize it was magic damage.
Right.
The dagger was. So this is kind of a great item for things like that. If you're getting spammed at a lot, you can block out some of that damage, and it makes your life not hell in lane. And so it's interesting that these little items are being added that give these small bonuses. You have this, obviously, I always forget the name of the green leaf that you can eat too that gives you a little bit of damage, 3 damage or whatever. What's that called again?
Oh, you're talking about the one that's worth
Fairy
70?
fire?
The fairy fire, the
Fairy
one that's
fire.
worth
Yeah, I
70.
always forget that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's another one of those items that just if you need that little bit to help the sustain, they've given a lot more options than just having the tango or the clarity or the healing salve, and I like that. The enchanted mango is another example. So
Yeah, I could talk about enchanted mango. That's actually
delicious item, isn't it?
oh man, it's one of my favorites, and I'm gonna have to talk about this on some other week. But enchanted mango, man, it
We
is
will
your
talk
friend.
about the mango another week. We'll be continuing our conversation on team building. We'll be hopefully having AG back to talk with us. I still need to talk to him, so maybe I just put him on the spot. Um, we are going to continue with these same segments. Tweet us in our different ideas you might have, anything you'd like to see. Flubb is new to the show, so be sure to tweet at him. Flubb, where can people reach you?
People can reach me on my Twitter handle. It's just Flubb Dota, no space, no nothing.
And that's 2
F-
B's, not just the
oh
one
yeah.
B Flubb. He's a 2 B Flubb, and you can find him here as well because he will be here for quite a while. Flubb, thank you for joining us, and it's going to be a pleasure having you, my friend.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to finally work with you.
Welcome to Tryhard Tuesdays. We really look forward to having you, having your deep insights. So, as for me, everybody, I am your host, the Grand Wazoo. You can find me at .p_wazoo on Twitter. Tweet at the entire show at .p_show. Check out the in-houses on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. And you can tweet Grouty Dota, I think. Yeah, that's his tweeter. Grouty Dota, and you can talk to him about any questions you might have for the in-house. Check out our YouTube at .ptv, and check out our Twitch at .ptv1. I am the Grand Wazoo, and I want to thank you for joining us, everybody. You can see me and Flubb next week at the same Tryhard time. Remember, stay hard, everybody. Stay classy.